We're expecting over 50 vendors this year, and compare products and services and learn about trends in the industry and compare notes with their fellow theater owners and just remind themselves that they're not alone, they're not crazy, and other people may have interesting solutions for challenges that they're facing.
This is the Box Office Podcast. I am Daniel Loria, the editorial director of Box Office Pro, the pulse of theatrical exhibition. And in this week's episode, we speak with Wynn Salisch, the president of the Mid-South Theater Convention. Wynn is joining my colleague, Rebecca Pahle, on the second half of this episode. Let's look over the numbers here over the weekend box office, because the snow in large parts of the country, and if it wasn't snow, it was frigid weather, really hit, I think, the box office in terms of earning potential. But let's be honest, this was always going to be the first bad weekend of 2026. And that's precisely what happened, with Mercy barely crossing over the finish line in first place with a $10.8 million finish. A bummer, but there's a reason why this was scheduled in the middle of the NFL semifinals in January.
It's Amazon MGM kind of gearing up the machinery of distribution until Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, pretty much it. So we're slowly ramping up with Amazon MGM. That dethrones Avatar Fire and Ash from first place for the first time this year. Basically, Avatar keeping the first place spot in the domestic box office since its mid-December release. But yeah, now we are firmly in the post-Avatar Halo part of the calendar. And I'm sorry to our friends in exhibition, it's going to be rough. It's going to be a long, long wait. I don't think there is any relief coming until March. I'm thinking, well, there's the chance that Wuthering Heights does well. And right now we are tracking an opening weekend around $30 million for Wuthering Heights, which is very welcome. But I think really Hoppers in early March is going to be when we can really feel a little bit more confident. It's not looking great. That's something that we always budgeted for right now for this coming weekend. It's going to be a close race for the top spot with Sam Raimi's first horror movie since Drag Me to Hell. Am I right about that, or did I just make that up? I need some nods of encouragement here.
I think you're right. Yeah.
These are shrugs of maybe I'm getting. I will settle for a shrug of maybe.
It looks Army of Darkness-esque, which I enjoy that one.
So we need. That's currently tracking to an opening weekend between $12 to $17 million here in North America. Close on its heels, though, and watch out for this one, because Iron Lung from YouTuber Markiplier, no idea if I said that name correctly. I'm not going to take the time to figure it out, but it is a YouTuber. It is an independently produced and distributed title. That could really cause an upset here, because that is surging. We have a $10 to $15 million opening weekend range for Iron Lung, but this could go as high as 20, in my opinion. This really has great potential with Gen Z audiences, and we know that they always surprise us. So that's why we're budgeting a little bit extra there. A number one to number two close race to see where that ends up. And then counter programming, we've got a couple other titles here in wide release. Did you guys know there's a Jason Statham movie out there?
It's not January without a Jason Statham action.
Yeah.
You need him in there. Those usually earn around the, let's say, low tens, high single digits right now, because Black Bear is just starting its foray into the distribution marketplace. I think they're getting used to everything out there. We're expecting an opening weekend between 5 to 8 million from Shelter. Surging up in bookings here, a documentary that we didn't expect to have a wide release. It doesn't look like it's going to hit the screen count for a wide release, but with around 1,500 locations, Melania, the documentary about the First Lady, currently tracking to an opening weekend between around 2 million. Again, we have to stress 1,500 locations isn't a wide release at all. Documentaries haven't really broken out at the box office in the last couple of years. This isn't a directly political documentary. It's politically adjacent. I think a $2 million range opening weekend for 1,500 locations makes sense for a title like this. But you never know. With partisan audiences, we could see that double to something around $4 million if audiences really turn out for that. So we'll be tracking those titles coming out in release this weekend. And we've also got in our UK and Ireland film forecasting provided by our partners over in Pearl and Dean an important update here with the opening weekend of Primate in the UK and Ireland. That's a film that's already in wide release in North America, overperformed in its first weekend and then kind of slowed down. A little bit of cannibalizing from The Bone Temple. And obviously in the UK and Ireland, Bone Temple's already been out for a couple of weeks. Primate's coming in the heels of that. Currently, our friends at Pearl and Dean are expecting an opening weekend forecast of 500 to 750,000 pounds for that title, and a total theatrical forecast in the UK and Ireland for Primate of 2 to 3 million pounds. Good for our friends over at the UK who have seen some fantastic earnings from films like Hamnet. The Housemaid also doing extraordinarily well there. UK and Ireland, some fantastic work, not only in terms of what exhibitors are doing, but audiences really seem to be turning out for this slate. And now let's go to the meaty part of our news segment because Oscar nominations are out. Chad, obviously, you're the one here in our team that is probably the best at keeping track of these things and sort of understanding how the nomination process works, who's up for the awards, and what the conversation is around them. So for this edition of the Academy Awards, what are the categories that we should really be looking at in terms of where the real competition is? What's the narrative going into this edition of the Oscars?
Yeah, I think the big news is the record-breaking number of nominations for Sinners. So Sinners picking up 16 nominations. That's history-making. So they're hitting a lot of categories there. One Battle After Another is behind that with 13 nominations. And the other big news, of course, is always looking and seeing who didn't get a nomination. And Wicked for Good definitely stands out because they didn't get a single nomination in any category.
Nothing.
That's kind of weird, man. I don't know. Really?
Not here.
Rebecca, you were saying this earlier. Didn't they open the Academy Awards last year with a song from the musical?
Yeah, and obviously, you had multiple nominations actress-wise. Last year, Ariana and Cynthia were both nominated.
Yeah, they were both nominated last year.
And then this year, the fact that there were multiple new songs added into the mix, which when you adapt a Broadway musical, it needs to be something that is new for the movie in order to qualify for the Oscars, and to not even get that nod definitely feels a bit strange.
Yeah, I think surprises here, not only in terms of who is nominated, who's left out. Let's look at that Best Picture race, Chad, because I think this is always interesting. I've been a lot more interested in following this specific race since they finally, with a capital F, started putting in more foreign titles in the nominees, because for a while it felt like nothing in terms of anything remotely outside of it being available in English would make it anywhere near the Best Picture race. Fortunately, that's not the case anymore. And we've got a couple of contenders here that add some real diversity to that contention slate.
Yeah, the full list for Best Picture is Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams.
Of that list, I think they're all from pretty good to great movies, all of them. There's some that I personally didn't like. I'm not a huge fan of Hamnet. Doesn't mean Hamnet is a bad movie. I was less excited about Frankenstein, but those are still some really, really well-made films. And Sentimental Value, man, the only reason it's not higher on my year-end list is because Joachim Trier has made better movies in the past, and I'm just grading on a very high curve here, right? Sentimental Value is still a terrific, terrific film. How do you guys feel about this? Is there a sentimental winner that you guys want out of this bunch?
I've talked about this before, that Hamnet was definitely a favorite for me this past year. I think Marty Supreme also, One Battle After Another, Sinners. I'd be happy with any of those four taking the Best Picture.
It feels like I personally, One Battle After Another would be my pick. But yeah, like you said, Chad, there's a lot of really good stuff that's nominated, and it feels like, if not for this, Ryan Coogler's going to win an Oscar or 5 at some point. It feels like it could really be like last year, where we had Sean Baker just kept going up stairs, coming back
Right.
downstairs, going upstairs, coming
It
back
feels
downstairs.
that way. That's a really good point. It just really feels like Sinners can come in and just steal a bunch of awards. While One Battle After Another, I think, is the favorite for a lot of critics groups, understandably.
Both Warner Brothers titles. So.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and I think both titles completely deserving to be in consideration here. I think the shocker of the bunch, the only movie that people are going to be questioning if it wins Best Picture, is F1. Even the Netflix titles. I think if you hear Train Dreams gets Best Picture, that's fantastic. It's a small movie. It's a movie that premiered at Sundance. It's a very understated film, but there's enough substance there to push it there. Same thing with Sentimental Value. The performances there are top notch. I think F1 is the only movie that outside of a nomination, people would be sincerely shocked.
I mean, the visual effects, that nomination, sound, obviously. But I mean, that Best Picture, it feels like they wanted Brad Pitt to show up. On the subject of visual effects, this movie, The Lost Bus. Oh, right. I gotta look up this movie again because it's like a Matthew McConaughey Oscar nominated kind of disaster movie, and I love disaster movies. It's an Apple release. How was it like Oscar nominations morning before I found out about this movie? Am I just bad at my job?
This Lost Bus. I've never heard of this thing in my life.
It was an Apple original.
That's why we've never heard of it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and the like Wicked totally could have gotten a visual effects. No, and great. I haven't seen I'll have to catch up with it.
It's a film that was made to end up somewhere on Apple TV Plus and by itself an Oscar nomination. That happens unfortunately often these days. But no, I think these are, going back to the Best Picture category, I think, it's a very, very strong collection of films. One surprise there if F1 does end up taking it. Everything else, I'm not going to blink if it wins that award. Now, the Best Actor categories, that usually brings in a lot of conversation. Where should we start with this, Chad? Because there's 4 races here, and I think each of them have compelling narratives.
Yeah, let's start with the supporting categories. I do think actor this year is interesting because there's a lot of really solid performances in there. It's a pretty stacked category from Benicio del Toro, Jacob Elordi, Delroy Lindo, Sean Penn, Stellan Skarsgård. I was really happy to see Delroy Lindo
get a glad for that.
Get a nomination.
For that nomination. I was also really excited to see Wunmi Mosaku in the supporting actress category. For Sinners. She's someone I saw her on some British TV show called In the Flesh. I've been following her for a while. She's popped up on things that I've watched. There was the Lovecraft Country HBO show that
what's the rest of that
finale? But she's been putting in really good work for a long time. And then the Amy Madigan and supporting actress. I mean, that's just.
As Rebecca mentioned, you've got Wunmi Mosaku for Sinners, Amy Madigan for Weapons, and a number of other really, I think, interesting choices here.
Yeah, Tiana Taylor, One Battle After Another, and then Elle Fanning from Sentimental Value, and also I'm gonna botch her name.
Let me save you from that embarrassment, Chad. I will gladly embarrass myself, and you can blame my Mexican accent here. Inga Ibsdottir Lilias. Let's go with that.
Yeah, let's go with that. That sounds good.
The least horrible pronunciation. Our apologies. And she's obviously nominated for Sentimental Value. Well, let's split it into 2 conversations here because we just capped off reading the nominees with the actress in a supporting role. I would love to reward Elle Fanning's work and range this year. I really think she did some special work. Same opening weekend with a title like Predator Badlands and title like Sentimental Value opening back to back, 2 completely different type of films. 3 performances among those 2 films, each of them terrific. I'd love to reward her. All of these nominees are great, but for me, Amy Madigan is the sort of performance that is a difference maker in a movie.
It's a Ruth Gordon Rosemary's Baby performance.
Yes, it is.
Which almost maybe it's too similar. It's clearly inspired. Maybe it's a bit too direct of an inspiration. But I mean that it feels like sometimes they're just a performance isn't a front runner. But I mean it just feels right.
It feels right. It's a before and after.
It's a Marissa Tomei and My Cousin Vinny.
Exactly. There's a before and after in the film, Weapons, with Amy Madigan's character. When Amy Madigan shows up to Weapons, it takes the entire film in a different direction by the sake of her performance. And granted, the role is built to do that, but you also need a performance that can deliver it. And I would pick out of this fantastic group of actresses, I would go with Amy Madigan simply because of that. How about you, Chad? How would you rate this category?
I think both of these supporting categories are actually very stacked. Tiana Taylor did get the Golden Globe, which isn't always an indicator, but that definitely maybe puts her up a notch.
Did she get supporting for? Do they split at the Golden Globes? Do they split the acting supporting between comedy and drama like they do the lead?
They do not for supporting, just for leading.
Okay. Because I know, I mean, it was considered a Chase Infinity. I know was, I mean,
right,
for not to get nominated, but she's kind of like on the dividing line between supporting and lead.
And it's a pity because of that. I think Chase Infinity's performance is the secret weapon in One Battle After Another. She's the emotional grounding to that film. The film works emotionally because of Chase Infinity and what she brings, especially the unspoken moments in that film. Unbelievable performance from her. And it's an omission that I also feel here.
Yeah, and there's always a little bit of politics in terms of how, with a role like that, if they put her up for Best Actress or Best Supporting. And I'm not sure which they did, but that's always a little bit of a political thing of like,
category
maybe
fraud,
if they put them
and
up for the other category,
chance.
they could have gotten in. And yeah.
So you got to pick one. Chad, let's go with this. And we didn't even do Best Picture, so we'll round back to Best Picture in a second. But I want to hear from each of you. Who do you think will win? Who would you like to win? Or if you don't want to answer who you'd like to win, what's the romantic choice?
I'm kind of divided between Wunmi Masaka and Amy Madigan. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. But honestly, all these performances were great.
Rebecca, on your end, who do you think's going to win? Give me the romantic choice.
Pretty much ditto what Chad said. I'm very torn between Amy Madigan and Wunmi Masako. I'd probably give it to Amy Madigan, though I just from like fashion perspective, I would love if Tiana Taylor had her big going up. Like I feel like we could get a Cher Moonstruck style like fashion moment from her. So I'm that one. I wouldn't be mad at any of them. I gotta confess, I still need to see Sentimental Value, so I'm gonna see it by Oscar night.
Solid, yeah. Absolutely worth your time, but especially this is good snowy weather for like a chamber drama like that. Very, very good. I mean, to go into detail about Sentimental Value, I'm a huge fan of Joachim Trier, the director. I absolutely love his films. One of the filmmakers whom I've been lucky to interview, that every time I chat with him, it's like talking to an old friend. He's just a reporter's dream to have a conversation with a filmmaker that in tune with film history, with the craft of filmmaking, with the craft of storytelling. I am rooting for everything he does and the cast in his films. Sentimental Value has a very good opening monologue about this family home that I think is the soul, is the heartbeat of the film. Beyond that, there are a couple of strands that the movie takes. The meta filmmaking strand, I think, was better explored with Olivier Assayas's Irma Vep remake. Not his first remake that was a movie, his second remake that was a miniseries on HBO. So a lot of those like filmmaking, meta references, I think, are better expressed elsewhere. And the domestic drama, the family drama side of it is still very interesting and worth your time. But with a very high standard of his films in the past, I like his other films better. That's not to say this film is bad or not worth it, but maybe that's why I'm not as enthusiastic on Sentimental Value. But that's a very unfair way to judge a film by, taking marks away from it just because the people behind it are that good at everything they make.
Compared to some of these other nominees, there's other films that I liked a lot more, but I do think what Sentimental Value has going for it is the performances. So as we're looking at the supporting actor role, Stellan Skarsgård was also the Golden Globe winner there in that category. But looking at these, if I had to pick, I do feel like the exciting one would be if Delroy Lindo picked that award up for
But
Sinners.
but
Again, I mean, they're all
how
great.
badly, like how badly do you want to see Sean Penn do that lockjaw waddle walk up to the?
That role could have been a Looney Tunes cartoon character with any other actor.
And it kind of was, but in a way that worked.
Yeah, and I think what Sean Penn did, and I completely agree with you, Rebecca, was take certain Looney Tunes villain elements, embrace them, but also ground them with a deep sense of masculine insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard to portray insecurity underneath a sheet of machismo. And you can see that all over the manosphere of social media, like, washed up kickboxers and like dudes with podcasts. That's kind of what they exude, right? I think what Sean Penn did in that role is special. And I think he deserves it, because I think it's such a tricky performance. Anyone else in that role brings that movie down, and he doesn't let that happen here.
I mean, that said, I mean, we got a Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another. They're so good. I think, especially when you look at his performance against Sean Penn, like he is sort of like it is a more, like, his natural, understated performance. He just it's just such a competitive category this year, as it is every year. And I don't know, though, it's a good performance from him as well. So I'd probably go for. I mean, I think Sean Penn deserves it, I would say.
I mean, in regards to Del Toro here, with Del Toro, I agree with you. Fantastic performance.
Like it's especially for the supporting role, which tend to be like those nominations tend to be very heavy on the Sean Penn's like over the top performances with the ticks and
Amy Madigan's performance is tuned up to 11. I will say the Del Toro performance is great. I think, and this isn't the criticism of the performance, it's just in context of the conversation here on awards. Del Toro's performance is in the same key as his performance in P.T. Anderson's Inherent Vice. It's not the same role. It's not the exactly same performance. It's in the same key. It's related to it, I think, to an extent. So I understand why P.T. Anderson brings him in for One Battle After Another, and I think Del Toro answers beautifully. But I still think it's not as heavy of a lift as the Sean Penn one. But we're splitting hairs here. Like everything else that we're talking about, this is just a really good group of films and some really great performances that if anyone wins here, I'd be happy. Even Jacob Elordi, bless his heart, that is, again, such a schlock potential role to have to play. And he delivers. I think he was pretty good in that role.
I was shocked midway through the movie. I was like, I'm kind of digging this guy. He was one of the people from Euphoria. He's one of the Euphoria crew that came along, and everyone was. But he did pretty good.
Yeah, especially for stepping into such an iconic role. That's something that's not an easy. I think for an actor, that's not an easy yes. To follow Karloff in the long list of people who have.
And make it years. And also, so we're preparing right now for our big Scream franchise, like, deep dive that we're going to do on this podcast at the end of February. And I'm rewatching a lot of them. And I'm realizing that what Scary Movie did to Scream was not a disservice, but Scary Movie made Scream movies have to do a heavier lift for them to work as horror titles, right? Because it satirized it so well. And when it goes to the role of Frankenstein, what Mel Brooks did with Young Frankenstein, I think made any Frankenstein performance moving forward a harder lift, because you have to go beyond the easy parody of that. And that parody and that satire was so good, obviously on the Mel Brooks side, that it's kind of hard to disassociate yourself from that aspect and bring in something new. And I think Elordi did that. I think he pulled it off.
I mean, it's a Frankenstein's monster who is more book accurate, who talks.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a completely different thing, but you are going to, naturally compare it to all the other cinematic incarnations that have come before. No Oscar nod for Oscar Isaac for playing Victor Frankenstein. I don't know who I would have pushed out of the Best Actor in a Lead Role category.
Yeah, let's go to the Best
honestly.
Actor in a Lead Role nominees, because you're right. Former ska musician from Miami, Oscar Isaac, not getting nominated for Dr. Frankenstein, an actor in a lead role, but 5 very, very good performances here. Chad, take it away with these actors.
Yeah, the 5 are Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio, One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke, Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan, Sinners, and Wagner Moura, The Secret Agent. Yeah, I think I mentioned in our year-end wrap-up that I really loved Ethan Hawke's performance in Blue Moon. I felt it was a tour de force, so I'm glad that he made it in.
In this one, I have no preference. Any one of these guys win, and I'm going to be clapping and thinking it was deserved. Rebecca, on your end?
I mean, even a performance like Wagner or Wagner for The Secret Agent. I mean, that it's not one of those big kick-heavy performances. It's not one of those big splashy performances, but he needs to, anchor that movie where, chronologically things are out of place. You don't know what's going on. You really do have to pay attention to really find your footing in there. And I think he did an excellent job at anchoring that. But I mean, yeah, any of these performances, we got Michael B. Jordan ×2. I would love to see Leonardo DiCaprio win his second Oscar for a movie where he's having fun versus The Revenant, where it felt like he was putting himself through an unholy slog.
The guy's like fist fighting bears in a snowstorm, and in this one he's doing Mexican whistles, which is great. You have to honor the Mexican whistle. You have a white guy out there doing a perfect Mexican whistle, that has to count for something.
He should be. They had the casting category this year, right? They should do the best Mexican whistles. I guess is part of Sinners reaching that record. 16, I think previous 14 was the most anything had gotten. But yeah, now there's one more category than there used to be.
Well, let's look at the actress race here, because this is another really, really interesting list of folks. Chad, who's part of these 5 nominees?
Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson, Song Sung Blue.
I'll go in with the sentimental value, like name pronunciations. I'll step into that fire. Renate Reinsve for sentimental value.
Yes, and Emma Stone for Begonia. Emma Stone, I think this is 5th nomination, which that's for.
I'm surprised.
In your 30s and having 5 Oscar nominations.
Yeah, I like the movie. I like the performance in it. That nomination surprised me because it's not it seems like a movie that doesn't give a shit about what season at all. In a good way. Like, I don't think Yorgos Lanthimos does, but it's an interesting nomination. I'm trying to think if she wasn't in there, who I would put.
Right.
It's fearless. I completely agree with you, Rebecca. It's not a movie where
it's not an Oscar performance. Yeah.
No, you don't have that Oscar monologue. They don't care about that. The close-up isn't coming in to make you look good, so it shows up in the telecast for the Academy Awards. No, it's gritty. It's a Lanthimos movie. And we really have to applaud the creative partnership between Emma Stone and Yorgos Lanthimos, which has produced fantastic performances out of Emma Stone. I think that actor-director pairing is as good as the actor-director pairing we've seen from Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler so far.
Yeah. And with this nomination, so she is the youngest woman to reach 7 Oscar nominations.
7.
37.
Goodness. I hope. Oh, that's
man, I've been on that bandwagon since Easy A. That performance in Easy A, I was like, this woman's going to be a huge star. Like, there is just so much charm and potential. I think I was writing reviews for like blogs and like small sites. I think I called her a national treasure when I saw that movie, and I stand by it. I think she's a fantastic actor and has grown so much since then.
Yeah, but I think looking at this category, though, she's got 2 Oscars. That for me would be the biggest upset and surprise if she.
I gotta go for Rose Byrne I feel like she's always been a great actor. She can do comedy, she can do drama. It's kind of looked. I compare it to Marty Supreme, which is apt on more than one level because it is, behind the scenes production wise. I think it's produced by one of the Safdies. They both of the movies look from the marketing just kind of treacly and unappealing potentially, but they were both really stressful watches. Really a performance driven movie. This one, and that's I would just like to see her take this one. Kate Hudson, that one I think was was a surprise for a lot of people. I think Song Sung Blue was the only nomination.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much it got nominated. Song Sung Blue, I know our colleague Albert Lawrence loved it. I wasn't in on that one, but I think her performance in it is great. For me, and I don't think she's going to win because, again, it's not the sort of role that you usually think as an quote-unquote Academy Award role, but the performance is perfect. Renate Reinsve in Sentimental Value, I think, brings something special to that role and to that film. And from a professional perspective, this has nothing to do with the performances. It's outside of all of that. She was cast in the Julia Garner role in Weapons. That was her role. So her breakout film is The Worst Person in the World, Joachim Trier's prior film before making Sentimental Value. The world discovers her as just this fantastic actress. She lands a major studio Hollywood movie with a very exciting director. She lands a movie that will be played in multiplexes to $100 million plus gross. And unfortunately, the actor strike takes that away from her. And Weapons needs to be shelved and needs to be recast. And she loses out on this introduction to Hollywood in this great, role that would have been great for her career, and I'm sure would have been by far the best payday that she'd ever gotten. But instead, she's able to be in the next movie by Joachim Trier and come out with a Best Actress nomination. So for that arc alone, I would absolutely love the romance of her winning this. But I don't know about you, Chad. This seems like Jessie Buckley's year for Hamnet.
Yeah. I mean, traditionally, the best actor, the best actress, you kind of have to pay your dues. You have a career of really strong performances. Last year changed that with Mikey Madison. So you never know what that category is going to look like. But I do think Jessie Buckley, in terms of not only actress, but just actor across the board for me, gave the strongest, rawest, most truthful performance.
Does this make The Bride her Norbit if she wins?
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So I think that she actually filmed The Bride before Hamnet, which I'm curious when that film comes out if there's any conversation about her process with those two movies back to back.
I have to say also, Daniel, to kind of bounce off what you said earlier, I would not be mad at a Julia Garner Weapons nomination. I think that film got under-nominated. I would put it in cinematography. I
put it in Best Picture race.
Yeah.
I would. I wouldn't be shy about that. I'd swap it out for F1 in a heartbeat. But I will say this, going to the directing category, 5 very good directors. I'll name them out right now. Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, P.T. Anderson for One Battle After Another, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Who do you take out to put in Kaczynski for F1? I don't know. That'd be a really tough choice. But if you're going to put F1 for Best Picture, you have to put Kaczynski for Best Director, because the only way a movie with that bad of a script ends up being a Best Picture nominee is with great directing of those race sequences. Like, F1 is not Brad Pitt's movie. It's not anybody's movie other than Joseph Kaczynski and his directing in that title. So I do think that is a big snub here in context of this category.
What do you think is going to happen with editing? Because editing and directing very often go hand in hand. I think is it the exact same group of 5?
Slightly different.
No, slightly different because no Hamnet editing.
We actually have F1 coming in for editing, right? So it's Stephen Marion for F1, nominated for that. Then you've got both Ronald Bronstein and Josh Safdie, longtime collaborators, coming in for Marty Supreme. Andy Jurgensen for One Battle After Another, Olivier Boucoutet for Sentimental Value, and then Michael P. Shawver for Sinner. So this is where F1 sneaks into the conversation, right? That I said, like, well, if you put F1 in Best Picture, it should be in directing. Well, it does end up in editing, because that I can also understand that, in the sense that all that footage you took from the race can be just a series of non sequiturs that make absolutely no directional sense whatsoever. So the edit makes the movie and the edit makes the direction. Okay, granted, fine. But because F1 sneaks in here, F1 is the only movie that does not work without tight editing of this list. It's an unintelligible film without great editing, and it's hard for me to overlook that in terms of. But it's not biggest challenge, right? It's best editing. So I don't even
So,
know.
I mean,
If that
it
even
would be
applies.
like the Bohemian Rhapsody one for editing, right? Which was kind of felt at the time like, okay, this is an award for saving that movie.
I don't know. What would you guys pick for best editing here?
I got to go One Battle in editing. Just that movie did not
Yeah.
feel as long as it was.
No,
That
it felt
movie-
like
Yeah.
felt like a blink of the eye.
yeah.
Like it
And
was
I-
wonderful in its pacing. Yeah.
if Johnny Greenwood doesn't win for score, that score is up there for me in like the tier of just the sort of a mismatch between audio and visual, but in a way that it works. It reminded me of The Third Man in sort of the visual audio.
I agree with you completely. I mean, original score for me, it's not even like I don't have to think about it twice. You've got other nominees that I think are worth discussing, obviously, with Bugonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, and Sinners. But One Battle After Another is just what you walk away thinking about. You can't have the film doesn't have the same impact without the score.
Yeah. Some of the scenes, the score almost felt like it would be out of a cheesy, elevator jazz or made for TV, like just sort of twinkly stuff that isn't necessarily the most interesting, but within the context of the film and how it plays against what's going on the screen, it's just amazing.
We look at the 16 nominations for Sinners, right? Like, what are the categories there that they're going to pick up? And looking traditionally, like, when you have a film that has the most nominations, how many did they tend to walk away with? Right. So that's where I think, some of these categories, Ludwig Göransson did win the Globe for score. It's like, where does the favorite actually come in and pick up those awards?
Yeah. Triangulating the campaigning that goes on. I think the original song is an interesting category, because 100% I would give it to Miles Caton's "I Lied to You." I mean, that seems incredibly obvious. You have No Wicked, you have another Diane Warren nomination. I do wonder if this is just if this is going to K-pop Demon Hunters, because it feels like Netflix has probably put a lot of money. They put a lot of money into award season. They did get a lot of nominations. I mean, they're nominated, for Train Dreams as well. Is this going to be one of those, like, Netflix gets an award?
Yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters did win the Globe for a song.
I mean,
yeah, that
and
makes
that was
sense.
such a phenomenon. I mean, that does feel like it would be something that would win just to make the Oscars feel more relevant. I don't know.
That has to be something we think about here, because the show has been blamed for being out of touch with the average moviegoer or the general audience in the US. And I think that's fair. I think expecting the Academy Awards to actually name the best picture of a given year is the wrong way to look at the Academy Awards. I don't think it's built for that. I think it is a discovery tool to expand people's maybe interest or knowledge of cinema in any given year, and to get them a little bit more engaged. I think as an awards show, it's practically useless. It's ridiculous. It's
It's
not
Hollywood
something I
patting
think
itself
is-
on the back for 3
Absolutely. I mean,
years.
for me, it's not. It doesn't have much substance to it. But I do think there is marketing value in bringing out a wider diversity of films to the general audience and exposing them to these sort of films. In that conversation, you got to get a couple of ringers in there. You got to put F1 for Best Picture, right? And it doesn't help in a year like this where you have bona fide box office hits in the Best Picture race, and box office hits that are actually pretty good. Sinners made a ton of money. It's in there. Even some of the quote unquote softer movies, One Battle After Another, Marty Supreme, they made around mid 70s, low 80s in terms of domestic box office. That's pretty good, I think, in terms of having movies that people have actually heard of. And that gives you the ability in this expanded field of nominees to bring in sentimental value, to bring in The Secret Agent, even Train Dreams, which is probably I'm not sure Ted Sarandos knows he released Train Dreams. I'm not sure anybody that has Netflix has ever heard of this movie. Beautiful little film that absolutely deserves your attention. But it's thanks to these big movies bringing in the viewers that you can put the spotlight in other titles. And that, I think, leads to the best international feature film race here, which has a lot of interesting films. I haven't seen all of them. Tunisia's The Voice of Hind Rajab being the only film I haven't seen of the bunch. But every other nominee, Brazil's The Secret Agent, France's It Was Just an Accident, Norway's Sentimental Value, and Spain's Surat,
which also got a Best Song nomination. Multiple Oscar nominees, Surat.
Surat?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Good for them, man. Good for them. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot here. It's going to be hard to just pick any of these. But again, of these titles, I think I'm just happy to have them on a list where we can celebrate them. I don't really have a dog in the fight.
Asterisk, sneak no other choice in there as a sixth.
That would be great. I would have loved to see that in this list. But honestly, I don't really have, any picks here for the best international feature film. I don't know if you guys have anything that you're really rooting for in this category.
I'm torn between Surat. I am under no illusions that
that's your punk rock choice.
That's the punk rock choice. That's the I just want to burn this world down choice. But no, I'll go for The Secret Agent after that. I enjoyed. It was just an accident. I think he did something really. Threaded a really tough needle with regards to tone. I think that's definitely a theme for this year is movies with incredibly heavy subject matter, surprisingly being more funny than you'd think they'd be. But yeah, I'd give it to just The Secret Agent. To me, that's just a well-rounded, it's just a damn good movie. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I feel like this is where Sentimental Value might be able to come in. And I don't see that winning Best Picture, but I think it could come in and win here.
What do you think is going to get the technical awards? Because that's always kind of a place for films that don't win. And is this going to be a Netflix Frankenstein? Is Avatar going to clean up my costumes obsessed production design obsessed self? Is definitely curious about that one.
I mean, visual effects, that's just a race between Avatar and F1, and it depends what you prize. Do you prize really great digital effects, or do you prize really great practical effects? I'm a practical effects guy, always. I'm not that interested in watching 3-hour-long screensavers. That's not something I like. Video game cutscenes, I don't find cinematic. Putting a camera in a $3 million car and crashing it, and getting footage that is workable within a narrative, I think is a massive challenge and absolutely worth rewarding. But that's just me. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I feel like the Academy usually goes for what is the sort of prestige film among the list, typically with visual effects, which is probably Sinners.
That's true. And Sinners, in the way that it integrates the effects into the narrative, it does so perfectly, right? There's never a moment in Sinners that you're thinking, oh, that was probably done in this way or that way. It just kind of flows very well.
Yeah. And that seamless transition after the big dance scene there.
And now let's go to the best picture picks that we have here. We hinted at some of our preferences here. I'll go through mine quickly. I think F1 is the only upset choice here. What I would like to win Best Picture, it's really hard, especially this week, for me to say any other title other than One Battle After Another. I think it is a very relevant film for today. I'll leave it at that. That's what I think should win. That might be the reason why it doesn't, however. So
we haven't mentioned much at all Marty Supreme, which it feels just like it might be the victim of it being too good a year. I guess Chalamet is the front runner for lead actor at this point, or when he won the Golden Globe, did Marty Supreme kind of get put into the comedy category? I don't know, but that's I wouldn't be mad if Marty Supreme one battle. Yeah, there's a lot of good options this
So
year.
a film about confident.
The production design, Marty Supreme production design. I mean, come on.
I know it's great. I think that should win production design, by the way. But I think I agree
This
with you. I think where
is- you
Hollywood is
got-
today, a movie about a kid that believes in himself, sticking it to a billionaire that wants to own everything.
Yep.
That might, I don't know. There might be some parallels there. This industry could draw from that. Chad, is it Hamnet all the way for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think Hamnet's the one that I want to win. I think One Battle After Another has a very good chance of winning, so I would put it between those two.
I
So many good
think
films.
I suspect Sinners might walk away with it. I do suspect that. I think the number of nominations it has, the fact that it is the highest grossing film of any of those, the fact that the Academy Awards are built to reward commercial films that audiences see, and the fact that Sinners is so good despite being all these things.
The fact that its success story is in large part based on word of mouth. I mean, that opening weekend wasn't bad, but it was not by any means the sort of thing you'd look at and say, this is going to be one of the top grossing movies of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it, in terms of what the Academy Awards are, what their purpose is, I think Sinners should win based on that. What I would like to win is One Battle After Another based on social, cultural, artistic reasons. But the Academy Awards are not meant to be social, cultural, or artistic awards. They're meant to reflect where the industry is and the way the industry views itself. And I think Sinners is the type of major studio film that becomes a massive financial hit that this industry needs more of. And I think that should be recognized by what the purpose of these awards are.
And the fact that both of those films are Warner Brothers releases in a year when, for all practical intents and purposes, the future of Warner Brothers is seeming potentially very depressing for those who really honor and prize and respect its legacy of giving filmmakers a platform, like Ryan Coogler, like Paul Thomas Anderson. They just here, take this money, do what you want.
Talking about platform, I don't think this award show is maybe the best platform to make political statements, but to make industry statements, I think it is the best platform for industry statements. This is definitely, I think a very sensitive political moment in this country. I respect that. I have a stake in that conversation personally, but that's not what this show is. And if there is any sermonizing here, I think where this industry is and what the potential future of it could really, really use a couple of voices.
It's a little Sean Baker treatment of last year where it was, he was really speaking out for the future of the industry and for exhibition.
Massive opportunity if we don't do that.
So you're saying if the Oscars not being the most fitting venue for political statements, so you're saying you don't want Sean Penn to win?
I would love for Sean Penn to win. And listen, whether I agree with him or not is beside the point. I think he's a fantastic actor. I think he had a great performance. I think he should win and go up there and say what he needs to say. That's fine. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, I know it's a politically charged moment. I know there's going to be a temptation for that. I'm not sure that's the best use of this specific platform. I think actors have every right to share their opinion on anything they want, anywhere they want. That's fine. I'm just saying it'd be great if creative people in the industry used those platforms to talk about the industry.
The industry, yeah.
I mean, that would be good too. So yes, have your political opinions. No one's taking that away from you. Have them. That's fine. It'd be good if you also had opinions on your workplace. And I don't know how long of this conversation ends up in the final cut, but to our audience, we originally planned to record for like 15 minutes today. It got out of hand, but in a good way. This is the value of the Academy Awards. You sit down, you talk about movies. That's why they're good. Even for someone that doesn't watch them like me, this is why we need them. This is why they're relevant, because you get to these discussions and we get to say, what is the Lost Bus? And then forget about it and talk about every other movie that's relevant that did receive a theatrical release, including the Netflix titles. But that wraps up the news segment of our episode today. Coming up after the break is Rebecca Pahle's conversation with Wynn Salisch on the Mid-South Theater Convention.
And if you are listening to this episode and have any interest in maybe attending or checking out the Mid-South Theater Convention, there is the special early bird rate goes on through the end of January. So
nice.
jump on it within the next couple of days. If it seems like a really great show, and I was happy to speak with Wynn about it.
Well, let's jump right to it. That's coming up after the break.
Register now for the Mid-South Theater Convention, March 30th through April 1st in Memphis, Tennessee. This convention will bring together managers, vendors, owners, innovators, and enthusiasts with engaging seminars and expert speakers. Stay ahead of the curve in your industry with networking opportunities and a trade show. Mid-South will also feature entertainment opportunities with a golf outing and movie screenings. Secure your spot today. Registration is open at www.midsouththeaterconvention.com.
And I am joined today by Wynn Salisch, president of the Mid-South Theater Association and of Casablanca Payments. Great to speak with you today. I'm really excited to hear more about the Mid-South Theater Convention going down in March 31st through
March 30 to April 1st, Monday to Wednesday.
Monday to Wednesday. There we go.
2 weeks before CinemaCon.
Mid-South Theater Convention. I know it's been around for a long time in different forms. You recently went through a rebranding as the Mid-South Theater Association. To start off with, can you kind of give us a little bit of information on geographically and in terms of the theater presence that you have there? What sort of people and professionals in this industry make up the attendance of the show?
The attendance of the show is like most of the other theater conventions, with vendors and theater owners and theater staffs. It was founded over 50 years ago by vendors, actually, as the Tri-State Independent Theater Association. And for many, many years, it was held in Tunica, Mississippi, which is about a half-hour drive south of Memphis, Tennessee. And it was labeled Tri-State because their focus was Tennessee, Mississippi, and Arkansas. In recent years, we've seen increased interest from other states, other theaters in a wider radius. So a few years ago, when I took over as president, we rebranded the organization as the Mid-South Theater Association, and we produced the Mid-South Theater Convention, which is coming up in Memphis, as you said, on March 30 to April 1st this year. And been able to upgrade our lodging from the DoubleTree in Memphis to the Hilton in Memphis, a more modern hotel with more amenities and larger trade show space and enhanced food and beverage options, and just a short walk across the parking lot to the Malco Ridgeway Theater, where we do our multiple screenings during the convention.
And of course, Malco over there, we have Larry Eder in charge of concessions. You were mentioning. I mean, I'm being from North Carolina myself, born in Tennessee. You're gonna get good food when you go down there.
Absolutely. The reviews that we've gotten over the past couple of years since Larry and I have been running it indicate that it has some of the best food of any of the conventions. I mean, keep in mind, Larry is a huge presence in the food and beverage industry, in the theater business. But also, I come out of the hospitality and food and beverage industry. I got my degree at the Hotel School of Cornell University, and I've run 5-star hotels and restaurants, and I've supervised food and beverage for theaters on virtually every continent on the planet, because for a decade, I ran all the Navy and Marine Corps and State Department operations worldwide. I was one of the founders of Clearview Cinemas in New Jersey, and I was on the founding team. And I worked for Meyer Ackerman, I worked for General Cinema, United Artists, and many other theater circuits for many decades. And I started as a projectionist in 1970 doing carbon arcs.
Oh, gosh.
Carbon arc projection and changeovers. So I was, I have a bit of a history.
How long have you been with the Mid-South Theater Association?
I think they elected me back in 2022 or 23, if I recall correctly. I've been attending the Tri-State for years, of course, and it was very rewarding. They asked me to take over, and the current president at the time was backing away from the industry, and I was happy to do so, to contribute and give back to the industry. I'm on 12 nonprofit boards both charitable and trade association, because I believe in giving back to the industry.
Yeah, I mean, you walk the walk in addition to talking the talk with that. I mean, you show up. I really respect that.
I try. I just tell people I've not learned how to say no yet, but I'm working on it.
So if anyone's looking for a new board member, we can say
Please,
no to a 13.
No, it's I'm on several film festival boards, and then some from the hospitality industry, I'm on La Mama's board. We won the Tony Award for regional theater a few years ago. So, because I also come out of live theater as a child.
Okay, nice. I mean, it's so important to have these in-person events. Since 2020, there have been some that we've lost or have gone on hiatus. Mid-Atlantic, Geneva. I mean, you want people maybe who are newer to the industry, curious to try out some of these in-person events, specifically, Mid-South. It sounds like it's a really great one for networking and actually getting a chance to talk with people.
A lot of our attendees, our theater owners in the region, do not go to CinemaCon, either because of timing or cost or whatever. So this is their chance to actually visit with dozens of vendors. We're expecting over 50 vendors this year, and compare products and services and learn about trends in the industry and compare notes with their fellow theater owners, and just remind themselves that they're not alone, they're not crazy, and other people may have interesting solutions for challenges that they're facing.
Yeah, that's something you have built into the schedule, those sessions, to kind of not a free-for-all for how you describe it, but sort of a moderated, guided discussion where people can kind of ask questions and has anyone else dealt with this? What have you done about that?
Absolutely. It's definitely an educational entity or event with a lot of fun built in.
I want to ask anything about F&B concessions. Larry's going to know it.
Larry's going to be there. There'll be other people from the Entertainment, Food, and Beverage Association, formerly the National Association of Concessionaires. And there'll be people there from the International Cinema Technology Association, ICTA. And we're bringing in knowledgeable resources from all corners of the industry so that they'll be there to answer questions and guide people.
With that Southern hospitality.
And with Southern hospitality at the core, absolutely.
I know one of the things that's really great about your show is it's affordable, which is I know very tough nowadays.
It is. Our rates have not increased at all. And as I said, the room rate is still the same as it was last year, $179. The registration fee for theater staff and owners is normally $125. But until the end of this month, we have a special going on, early bird of $95 per registration. And then it'll go up to $125 after that. The vendor booth costs and sponsorship tiers are very reasonable, especially when you compare them to CinemaCon or other regional trade shows for that matter. One of the many things that differentiates us is we are not a Cinema United trade show. We were started by vendors years ago, and our board consists of vendors and theater owners. So we are very focused on education and introducing theater owners to new products and services, and it seems to be working. And yeah, the rule, as I understand it, Cinema United's rule to be one of their trade shows is that the entire board has to be Cinema United people and members. And of course, they don't have a membership category yet for vendors. So we're sort of the outsiders, but we have been attracting growing numbers of people every year, and with very good reviews, fortunately.
What else do you have going on at the show? I know every show has a golf outing, but the skeet shooting caught my eye.
We got skeet shooting. We have 3 movie premieres, and we're still booking those. Because we're still a little ways out from that. And we have just great food and beverage events, and the educational section is interesting and unique and very informative. And we also raise money for scholarships so that theater employees who are about to go on to college, theater owners can nominate their employees, and we raise money for that and give it back to them in that fashion to enhance their next round of education.
And I see ICTA, the mentoring program, Beth Figge's involved with that. There's going to be a session there or an introduction to that. I mean, that's, as someone who started, as a projectionist, that's so important to kind of keep people invested and interested in the industry, because it is an interesting industry, but it can be tough sometimes.
Fascinating. Yeah, I've actually been a mentor with the City University of New York's business school, Baruch College, for almost 25 years now, and I find it extremely rewarding to help kids navigate the next phase of their educational life and or the next phase of their career. And it all seems very daunting when you're a student, with so many options and so many decisions to make, and which way do I go, and am I locking myself into a certain industry or not? And sometimes it just takes somebody who's been there and done that to reassure them that here are some pathways, but everything is fluid and we don't know what the future is going to bring. So get trained in everything you possibly can and build a broad foundation of knowledge.
Yeah, especially with this industry with cinema exhibition, it's people don't know anything. They don't teach anything about it in film schools. It's almost like to some people it could seem like a black box from the outside.
Very much so, and so we're devoted to helping to shed sunlight in on the technology of the industry, best practices of the industry, and just help people navigate it and help them build their theaters and run their theaters for greater success. I mean, we had discussions on windows and theater release things, and basically every topic you can think of that's germane to the industry, we cover at some point in some way.
It's so great now to seeing like the industry, the way Gen Z is really embracing the theatrical experience.
Yeah, it's very reassuring.
Yeah, but it can also be like you need a Gen Z whisperer, like.
Yeah, no, it's just I'm one of these people. I'm a purist. I believe in seeing movies only in theaters. In fact, I do that. I'm a subscriber to Netflix and the rest, but I only watch episodics on those services. I see all of my movies in theaters whenever I possibly can, and I advocate for that whenever I possibly can.
That's the best way to do it, and that's it's putting your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. So, I encourage anybody who's interested to go to Mid-South Theater Convention.com, theater spelled with an R-E, as we always do. And there you will see all the information and registration details for the convention. Again, it's March 30 to April 1st, Monday to Wednesday, 2 weeks prior to CinemaCon. So there's no competition. And Memphis in spring, it can be very nice.
Oh, yes. I'm looking out at the snow outside.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. And, if people have any questions, they're more than welcome to contact me or Larry or anybody associated with the convention. And we encourage everybody to participate and come and attend and have fun and enjoy themselves and learn.
And if you happen to be at the Dine-In Cinema Summit, you check out a Boxoffice magazine issue that we have there. There's a QR code there for Mid-South. And
I will be at the Dine-In. I will also be at the United Drive-In Theater Owners Association conference that same week, just for one day on the business day, the Wednesday. So they'll be able to find me in all those locations.
But if you sign up before that, if you sign up by the end of this month, you get a deal. And I love a deal. So Mid-South-Theater-Convention.com.
Save a little bit of money and guarantee yourself a few days of education and fun and good food and camaraderie.
And that was Rebecca Pahle speaking with Wynn Salisch about the Mid-South Theater Convention. Don't forget about that early bird registration rate available through the end of January. Go to their website, make sure you're part of this before you lose that opportunity. And we will be back here with you on another episode of this podcast next week.